The fire hydrant assignment. Let's see what we're doing. But first, you know that red text means stop and takes notes. Green text means do what it says. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to learn about cropping and selecting and changing things in a non-destructive manner. All right, let's keep a look at what this thing. All right, Photoshop. Photoshop is a raster-based program. It's a professional program. It works with pixels. Raster means it works with pixels. So in Illustrator, we were working with a program that was vector-based. So we were dealing with lines that were made up of formulas. In Photoshop, if we go to this tool and we say, oh, let's zoom in, you can see that eventually it starts to pixelate. Okay, so basically all Photoshop does is it says, hey, I want to take this square and I'm going to change the color in there. I'm going to take this square, I'm going to change the color in there. And so it does a lot of complex programming, but anyway, that's all it does. It just changes each individual little square color, and that square color makes a picture. Therefore, it works very, very differently than Illustrator. Although we want the same effect, we want to make a beautiful picture, or we want to make beautiful things. Okay, oh, I forgot about this. I'm going to have to exit because we can't see this. All right, so a pixel, those little pixels we saw, are a small square on the screen. Okay, the PPI is pixels per inch, and take all these notes. All right, one thing that you need to know is 300 PPI. That's 300 pixels per inch. That's a big thing, and that's good for printing. So if you're going to print a picture on a printer or send it to the Walmart to get a picture made, you want it to be 300 PPI. That's good quality. 72 PPI is bad quality for pictures, but it's a good quality for the internet. So on the internet, we want pictures to load fast, so we lower the PPI. CMYK uses cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's what if you look inside my printer, that's what the ink I have. It's good for printing and four-color publication. RGB is good for web pages. Sometimes we'll use each of these. Okay, write that down. Red, green, and blue mixes red, green, and blue to make all the colors. CMYK mixes these four colors to make all the colors. Okay, so what I want you guys to do right now is I want you to set the resolution to 300. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to open up Photoshop. Okay, and you're going to go File, Open, and you're going to open up the fire hydrant picture, okay, or whatever the picture is. Okay, you're going to open it, okay, and then once it's open, we need to save it. So you need to go File, Save As, and you're going to save it not as a PNG or a JPEG anymore, but as a Photoshop file, a .psd. All right, and so you're going to save it in your folder with your name on it, in a folder called Composition, and a folder called Fire Hydrant, and you're going to save it not as a JPEG but as a PNG, and I'll show you as soon as this thing shows up, and apparently it's not going to. Okay, and so here it is. We're going to save it as we're going to choose PSD, so it's a Photoshop file. All right, and save it. I already did. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is this. We're going to check the image size. Okay, and so we're going to change it. If it's not 300, so this is 600, that's way too big. That's going to be hard to edit. We're going to change it to 300, and I'm going to click OK. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to crop it. Okay, so it looks like it shrunk it down, and I guess it did in some ways, but not really. It didn't really shrink it down. It just lessened the quality of it, which is good because it was way too high of quality. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to crop. Okay, so we're going to say, all right, what will make this picture look good? So I would say, if we're following the rule of thirds, probably something like this would look just fine. Okay, and I'm going to select that, hit enter, and we've cropped the picture. Okay, all right, now I've already have one that I've kind of prepared already, so I'm going to switch to this one. All right, so, oh, I better go back to my spiel here. All right. Use non-destructive techniques. All right, plan to make changes, but don't destroy anything. And before you make any changes, you have to select stuff. So let me teach you how to select stuff, and then we're going to make changes in a non-destructive manner. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this. So if you can't find it, go Window, Workspace, I don't know, Photography or Painting. Change it around until you can find the layers. If you can't find the layers, you can go Window and click on layers and turn on the layers. Okay, so we're going to go to the layers, but we actually need the paths. So let's go to paths. Okay, so I'm going to make a new path. Click, and it's called work path. All right, so what we're going to do is just like in Illustrator, we're going to go back to our beloved pen tool. Okay, so you're going to go to the pen tool, but instead of drawing stuff, we're going to click on this, and we're going to, so we don't want this, we want this where we're actually selecting stuff. All right. So I click and I drag, and I click and I drag up, and you can barely see the line, but there it is. I click and I drag, okay, and then I hit Alt and I drag this back because I want to change this. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag, and then I'm going to click, so on and so forth, okay? So okay, so you keep on doing that until you have done a really nice selection. Take your time and do good selections on these things, okay? Takes good time. Now, the next thing you're going to do is once you have a path, we need to actually load that as a selection. So you're going to come down here, and you're going to click this button, and it loads it as a selection. So like, okay, I have selected the fire hydrant. Now, you could do the wrong thing. Let's go back to layers. Okay, you could do the wrong thing, and you could destroy the fire hydrant. So I could go to the paintbrush tool, and I could get a beautiful color, and I could paint on here. Okay, except for if the problem with that is if I zoom in on this, guess what? I destroyed that pixel. I can't get the old fire hydrant back unless I hit Control-Alt-Z. But at any rate, you don't want to do that. So you don't destroy the pixels, okay? But what we do instead is, let's say it's like, oh, I'm going to go to we'll do a mask on top of it. So we'll make a new adjustment layer on top of it. So I'm going to say, let's go with hue saturation, okay? And so since I selected the fire hydrant, it's only going to play around with the fire hydrant. So I can say, ooh, let's change it to this color right here. Ooh, that's nice. And then we'll saturate it. So it makes it more powerful, more pure. Okay, and then you can change it to light or dark. Okay, so we'll make it a little dark, make it kind of crazy. Okay, all right. So now look, I haven't destroyed anything because I can just turn that adjustment layer on or off. Okay, now we're going to go back to our path. Okay, I'm going to go to this working path that I made. Okay, and then I'm going to select it again. Now, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go select inverse. I'm going to select the opposite. So I've selected everything but the fire hydrant. So I say, oh, I want to mess around with this layer. Okay, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to make a new black and white layer. Okay, so now I've adjusted to where everything else is black and white. Okay, so I can turn this layer off. It works on the fire hydrant. I can turn this off, so we go from color to black and white. Okay, so now one more thing. Okay, so let's go to a path. Let's say I want to erase something. I'm going to go to this path, and I'm going to go to, oh, I don't know. I'm going to go to the working path, and I'm going to select it. Okay, so I've got the fire hydrant again. So let's say you know what, I would really like to erase some of this fire hydrant. Well, again, you don't want to delete pixels because you may want them back. You don't want to destroy stuff. We're going to make changes in a non-destructive manner. So what we'll do is I'll say, oh, I'll go to the fire hydrant, and I'm going to go to layer mask. All right, so basically what I can do is I can say, oh, I'm going to paint, and I'm going to paint with black. So I go to black, and if I paint with black, what is it doing? Oh, I went to the wrong tool. Oops. Let's go. I'm going to paint with black. Okay, so anything I paint with black is going to disappear. Okay, anything I paint with white is going to reappear. No? Paint with white. Does that do it? I want to change the color to white. We're painting with white. Is that doing it? I'm having some technical difficulties here. Hold on. Oh, okay, I got it. Depends on if I turn these on or off, but I'll turn these off. I have this. So if you look at this, anything in black is going to delete. So I'm going to flip-flop my paintbrush, and if I go in black, it deletes. The other thing you can do, by the way, is you can change the opacity of what I'm doing, and so I can say I can make it kind of fuzzy. Okay, by what I do. Anyway, so we'll make it 100%. So if I make it 100%, I delete stuff. Okay, now if I switch it to white, anything I paint in white will add it back. Okay, and in fact, you can see I can add all this stuff back. Anyway, so if you want to delete stuff, don't delete stuff. Use a mask. Okay, but I don't want that. I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, so let's take a look at. So we'll turn these back on, see what we have. All right, let's take a look at our PowerPoint. All right, I think that might be it. Okay, that was it for the first spiel.